Welcome back everyone to Resident Evil Requiem. This is part 16, our final part where we clean up all of the trophies. And I'm going through here in the challenges to show you what we'll be doing. We're going to get the Speed Demon trophy, credit where credit is due, never touch the stuff, Minimalist, and the final puzzle. We're going to get all of those. So you're not going to see the majority of this playthrough. I'm just going to give you the highlight reel basically. I'm going through and playing on the easiest mode, and I will not be using the blood collector. I will not be using any healing items. I'm going to finish the final puzzle, and Leon will get the credit where credit is due because that's for him collecting the tactical tracker points. Here I'm not going to buy anything. Everything that I have I earned through my first playthrough, so I haven't actually purchased anything. We have 20,000 challenge points right now. We need, I think it's 50,000 to get unlimited ammo, and I am sorry, but I am not. I'm not going through insanity without unlimited ammo. So there you can see I put it on casual. Here I'm just going to give you a quick overview. As soon as you start the game, you're going to have access to your box, and you will start collecting points in your second playthrough. Here you can see I'm at 5 minutes 35 seconds. When you get on the street as Leon. So that's just to give you kind of an estimate of how quickly I went through the first parts, and I did skip all of the cutscenes as well. So yeah, you can start collecting points much earlier now in the game, like pretty much from jump. And you can start tuning up your weapons as well. So that's definitely a plus. And next up, we're gonna jump into the coins. Okay, so the antique coins. When you're playing as Grace and you use these antique coins, you can get the stabilizer, and you can also get the steroids. The steroids technically do not count as a healing item. It is a boosting item. So if you want to grab that and hang on to it, you can. Here I'm going to use my stabilizer now, and I'm going to hold on to my steroids, and that will be my one healing item that I'm allowed to use through the entire playthrough, because that's the only one you get, and without blood we can't craft any. So just keep that in mind. You technically get one free heal because it boosts your health. Here we've already done the underground. Leon has already come through here and cleared everything out. And we have the doll in our inventory. You have to have the doll in your inventory. And you also have to have Emily with you. So once you're back from the underground, Leon has cleared everything out. You're going to come through the waiting room, turn to the right, and go up the stairs to the researcher's office. And we're going to interact with the puzzle box there. But I actually haven't even opened up that puzzle box yet. So I'm going to come over here. I let Leon take all these guys out for me. I'm going to come over here to grab the corrosive so that we can get that lock off. And I'm so sorry about my voice. I do apologize. I am very under the weather. So I do apologize for that. Okay, so we've got the corrosive and we're going to go over to the lead researcher's office. And we'll just do everything normally here. And if you remember, we used the hand in the analyzer. It gave us a series of letters, G, G, C, A, G, on and on. We figured out that A doesn't mean anything. We found G equals the distance from the Earth to the Sun. U is the distance from the Earth to the Moon. And C is the distance from the Earth to the nearest star. So, now that we've got our quartz, we can actually take care of this now. So once you've opened up this puzzle box, you have Marie's doll in your inventory and you're physically holding on to Emily. You can now input the code, so just don't include any of the A's. Basically, your code is going to be sun, star, sun, moon, star, sun, moon, sun, and finally moon, star, moon. After you hear the laugh, you'll get the little final puzzle trophy up there, and you'll get a message saying that you've completed the final puzzle. And you get, I think you get 20,000 points, challenge points, for completing that puzzle, which is a crazy amount of points just for that. But I will say it was pretty hard to figure out, and I did have to make a note. I believe it's on video number 7 that shows the file where you actually figure out the distance. You get to see the distance from the Earth to the nearest star. I think I had said it wrong in one of the videos, but I did make a note with a timestamp on the video where you actually find that file. So that way you guys know that I did find each individual one. If you go in here and check your challenges, you'll see we now have 40,000 challenge points. So we are done with that.
Just need to get through that gate.
Here we have Leon in Raccoon City. This is where he's going to earn credit where credit is due. And that is for collecting 200,000 points on your tactical tracker. And now we are playing as Grace in Ark. And I'm pretty much just going through this because this is by far the most difficult part of the game. When you're not able to use the blood collector, which means you are not able to craft anything, and you're also not able to heal. So you have to make sure that you grab absolutely everything that you possibly can to help you. So no herbs, no med injectors, and no empty bottles either, because we can't craft anything with them. So just to give you an idea, I was showing you this walkthrough so that maybe it'll be just a little bit easier for you when you have to come through here. The lickers are by far the hardest part. Those pale head zombies, they're really not that difficult. It's the lickers that are the big problem. So we're only going to have access to a few bottles of acid, and using the Molotovs does help a little bit. Thank goodness we're playing on the easiest mode. Here, I'm going to try and take this guy out from far. I don't want to get in too close because I can't heal. And when you're playing on easy, after a couple of seconds, you will naturally replenish your health. If you get hit and you get down to where your screen starts turning red on the outside of it, you will, as long as you don't get hit again, you will start to replenish your health. Now, you like here, you can use your knives to take out enemies, obviously. It's much easier if you can get them on the ground, of course. So you may want to do a lot of knee shots, especially here coming up.
All right.
Because we're going to have to go back in there once we get the magnetic key. This guy, I am not going to waste a bottle of acid on him because we only have to come through here twice. We'll come through, just make sure that you crouch when you walk by. As long as you're crouching, you are just fine. He's not going to notice you unless you physically touch him. So you do have to be very careful, even just a toenail. Like if you just barely touch a toenail, they will notice you. But just keep your distance and you should be fine. So here you can see we've opened up the way for Leon. We can now grab the magnetic key for ourselves. And this is going to be fairly quick. Even though we're not using any crafting or anything like that, we are trying to beat this game in less than 4 hours, so we have to be quick. There are a few places where you can take your time just a little bit, and I tend to go really, really fast through the game, as fast as possible, and it's easier to do the 4-hour playthrough along with the no heals and no blood, because you're not wasting time to stop and craft anything or pick up blood in your collector or anything like that. It makes so much more sense to do all of them in one run through. And unless you're looking for a serious challenge, I do not recommend doing this on insanity mode. I did insanity mode with unlimited ammo for the guns. I didn't use the RPG with Leon, but I'm just gonna put it out there. It was still hard. I still died several times even with unlimited ammo. Also, just the best thing that you can do is not even pick up the blood collector. Don't pick it up at all, so that way you're not fooling with transfusion bags or anything like that. Because even if you don't pick up any blood from an enemy, if you pick up the blood collector and use the transfusion bags, that counts as collecting blood. So you can see here, the blood collector is sitting right there in front of the typewriter. That's because I never picked it up in the chronic care center. So here you can see I'm at 3 hours, 33 minutes, and 10 seconds at this point. At the end of this, I will show you what my final time was. But this is pretty good time. I think I end up with like 6 minutes to spare. So I mean, I guess it's cutting it kind of close. I'm not going to win any speedrun trophies by any means. But in order to earn the trophy, it's fine. And there you can see I have not used the blood collector, and I have not used any healing items. Also, if you need a breather or you need to check notes or something, pausing the game stops the timer. So just to let you know, because I did have to do that a few times. I would go in and check my challenges, and I'd, stop to go get a drink of water or have a snack or, whatever. I do take the time to come and open up the safes, though, because they always have really useful items inside. So that I would recommend get those codes ready. Just be careful that you only pick up the items that you need.
No.
Just put it that way. You don't want to accidentally pick up a med injector and then, you're at the very end of the game. You've got approximately 20 minutes left and you accidentally use a med injector. That would be absolutely awful. And I don't know if you guys remember, but based on the last time we came through there, through this area, I am absolutely flying right now. So this area is probably the trickiest area to get through. I don't want to waste too many of my acid bottles because I have a very small amount. Now, because I was so close when I started shooting, there may be another liquor that comes out, and being that we're on easy mode, I tried to move out of the way, but you see here the screen kind of turned red. I'm just going to use the acid bottle as a last resort, because if I got hit again I would die. And also when you die you may want to actually go and reload, like actually reload your save. So saving often helps. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to if hitting continue keeps your timer going. But just to be safe, I always reloaded my save instead of hitting continue. You'll also want to listen. Use your ears as much as possible to listen for the enemies. Oh gosh, that tongue. Oh my gosh, we have two. Okay. Now that will probably harm the other one. It did because he had to run through the acid. So do keep that in mind. Even if you can't get them together at the same time to use the acid, if you can aggro them to the point where one of them will come through the acid when you throw it, it will still hurt them. I'm not even really paying attention to how much handgun ammo that I have, really. I think all of... Oh, well, this guy. I'm going to get him with a knife because I don't think I have a whole bunch of ammo left. But as long as he keeps his back to me, we can take him out with the knife. And do remember that even on easy mode, there are pale heads inside those other two containers that aren't opened. But if I remember correctly, there isn't anything of value in there. I would open it if it meant getting another bottle of acid, but I don't believe there are any in there. So quickly grab your orb and make your way out. And right here, I am not going to use my acid on this guy. And this section, and then once we drop down and have to go back up the stairs, these are the last sections that we're going to have to deal with liquors at all, because we're going to go straight into Leon after that. So here, instead of turning around and going the other way, I tucked myself back into this corner here. And this guy is gonna just totally bypass me. Just make sure you don't move until you hear him continue past you. He didn't even notice me. You just have to make sure you tuck yourself all the way back into that corner. There are some boxes there. Also, you might want to walk through here because those two liquors could come down if you run too quickly. And of course, once you come up here, they're going to burst through the glass here. And at this point, you can use your bottle of acid if you would like to, because this is the last time we're going to need it. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I just slipped right past that guy. I think I touched him at some point because I heard him scream. But once you get back into this room, those guys are not going to follow you. So let's come over here and insert the final orb. and then go into the next room. That was pretty good time for that section. I'm sure there are speedrunners who would put me to shame, but pretty proud that I was able to do this. This was by far the trophy I was the most concerned about earning. Okay, we're going straight into the end game here. Once you climb up his arm to strike the final blow with your hatchet, you get a cutscene that you can skip. We'll skip our way all the way through to the end. And the first trophy we're going to earn is Never Touch the Stuff, which is for completing the game without using herbs or med injectors. And then we'll earn Minimalist for completing the game without Grace using the blood collector. And finally, Speed Demon, and that's for releasing Elpis in 4 hours. I finished with 3 hours, 54 minutes, and 2 seconds. And I'm pretty damn proud of myself that I was able to do that I'm just amazed, honestly. I was so nervous that I wouldn't be able to get this one, but I did it on the first try. Now, keep in mind, you have to release Elpis. You have to go through the final boss fight in order to get this trophy. You cannot just get the bad ending and be done with that. Here we're going to go into our bonuses because now we've earned quite a few challenge points. Grace gets the infinite ribbon. We don't have to buy it, and we have 133,000 challenge points. So the first thing that I'm going to do is buy the infinite ammo for guns. I'm definitely going to need that for the Insanity playthrough. I'm going to get this charm as well for Grace. I think I get that later. You can buy these outfits, you know, you can get all that stuff, but we have a trophy related to viewing all of the models and all of the concept art. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And I think each one costs 100 CP, so it's very cheap. But the kicker is you actually have to view every model. So what I'm going to do is go through and buy each one. That's why I'm speeding it up, because there are 56 models. Is that correct? Or is it 50? I can't see. My vision is so poor. But here I'm just going through and buying each one of them. And you'll see at the end, once you've purchased all of them, nothing happens. So you actually have to go into the model viewer, and the easiest way to do that is just using your R1. Just keep switching through all of them, and some of them are actually really cool looking. So of course take your time looking at them if you'd like to. I found some of the enemies are really interesting. I think I took my time and really looked at the singing zombies. They're just so strange looking. Victor Gideon looks good too, but I think his mutated model is probably cooler. They pretty much show you everyone here. So and of course there's Hunk and the Hound Wolf squad. And they did a really good job. These guys look pretty much exactly the way they looked in Village. And of course this guy had a big smile on his face. The girl is pretty cool too. I love the level of detail that they put into all of the enemies, and not just the way that they look, but the things that they say and what they remember. You know, those are all really interesting parts of this game that we've never really seen before in a Resident Evil game. Like they always have paid attention to detail with the enemies as far as their designs and how they look, but having them speak, that is extremely cool in my opinion. Definitely a good choice. Okay, we're getting pretty close to the end. The Garmers are really, really cool. Um, and a nice way to get away from the zombie police dogs, because you're not going to have police dogs everywhere. Like, those Garmers are really cool and insightful. So once you've viewed all of the models, you get the Model Mania trophy. And we ended on the liquor. How fitting. The liquor is my favorite bioweapon. Always has been. Okay, now that that's done, let's go into the concept art. I'm going to speed all of this up as well. Just purchase all of the concept art. I think this one has 56. If I'm reading that correctly. Yes, it's 56. And you'll do the same thing here. Just open them up to large size where you can see them and just keep hitting your R1. Now, the concept arts are really cool too, because you kind of get an idea of what they were thinking beforehand, because some of this stuff, you know, is clearly drawn after, and some of it is, you can tell that they're still kind of trying to figure out exactly what they want a particular room to look like, or details on the enemies, or even the city. You know, there was so many details in the city. I'm obviously not taking my time with this, but to do that, to sit here and really kind of inspect all of these, can give you a really good idea of how far they came from what they had in their head in the very beginning as just the budding idea of this game to the final product. If you're interested in that kind of thing. I know not everyone is, but, and I'm not all the time, but when it comes to Resident Evil, you give me anything Resident Evil and I'm gonna gobble it up. Like, I just, it's just my favorite. It always has been. This is the series that got me into gaming. Yeah, I played some games as a kid, but to be serious about it and to be a grown woman with kids of my own and still a gamer, this is the series that did it for me. And they're still going strong 30 years later, which is amazing. There are not a lot of series that can say that. So once you get close to the end here, you'll start seeing the weapons, of course, which all look amazing. And once you viewed the final one, you'll get the Curator trophy for viewing all of the concept art. And once you're finished with that, I'll be just prepping for the Insanity trophy, the Insanity run. So here you can use the rest of your points to purchase anything you'd like. The infinite knife is really good for Grace. You just have to be careful that you don't leave it stuck in a zombie. Get the modded tactical tracker for Leon. I'm getting the charm for Grace. Infinite durability for the hatchets. I probably should have gotten. I don't think I got it until later. Just purchase whatever you'd like. I'm not actually going to change any of the outfits. I don't even know why I bothered. The Mortal Edge is quite a bit better. Also, the Master Manual for Grace, you'll be able to collect 200 blood instead of just 100 to start, or 150 with the manual that you get out of the coin cabinet, you'll get 150 to start, and once you get the manual out of the coin cabinet, you'll be able to collect 200. So yeah, make sure that you get all of the things. Yeah, there we go. The Mortal Edge for Leon. That's important. It's a good bit better than the regular hatchet. Okay, so from here, I will have to start a new game again. And
Resident Evil.
this time we're going to choose Insanity mode. And you'll see it took me quite a long time to get through this. Once we get to the end, I'm not going to show you everything. I think right here we get the Bloodlust trophy. So you can see that it took me going all through the chronic care center, and now I'm here in the basement. This is the point where I'm actually able to get the Bloodlust trophy. And I've just entered at this point. Like, I haven't even gone and collected my first plug yet. So when I get here, you'll get the cutscene. I'll skip it. When I come over through here and collect that blood off of the floor, we'll earn the Bloodlust trophy. It is something that you will get naturally through the course of your playthrough, but not on your first playthrough. It is going to take more than one in order for you to get it. And at this point, I'm going to begin my final thoughts. So I can't express to you guys enough just how long I've been waiting for a Leon-centered game, because we haven't seen him since Resident Evil 6. We got the 2 and 4 remakes, so we got, you know, a very less pixelated version of Leon, and they absolutely plucked him straight out of my head. Like, what I envisioned him to look like in all those pixels back in 1998, this is exactly what I envisioned him to look like. And the way that they aged him was so perfect. Because when you meet him in Resident Evil 2, he's a rookie cop, he's very optimistic, he's just bursting with energy. And by the time you get to 4, he's a lot more hardened. He's seen a lot. He's seen a whole lot of stuff, and it's a little bit harder to see that optimism in him. He's more just very focused on his mission. And by the time you get to 6, everything is just absolutely nuts in that one. Very good game, just not very Resident Evil. And his portion is probably the most Resident Evil out of all of the campaigns that you can do. But it's still just not, it's just not Resident Evil, really. So here, I think this is exactly what Leon would be like at his age, after having dealt with all of the things that he's dealt with in his life. This is perfect. I think the graphics in this game are absolutely amazing. I love the attention to detail that they put into every single environment and every single zombie. You have such a variety of enemies, and I think Capcom really listened, because so many people would complain that you have very little variety. Here you've got it all. You've got the throwbacks with the liquor and the tyrant. You've got these new zombies that are still remembering what their job was after they're dead and reanimated, which is super cool. And it also does go into, like, they were doing this research on memory transfer. I don't know that they ever got to where they could transfer memories through blood, but they definitely got to a point where people retained their memories after death. So they made some progress there. Like, I'm not saying what they were doing was right or anything, but they were making some progress. I loved the gameplay. It was fun. It was nice to have the change up. You have this great dichotomy between Grace, who is very, very shy and quiet, much more comfortable behind a computer screen, never really seemed to see herself as a field agent where she would actually go to a crime scene and analyze anything there. But on the other side, you've got Leon, who is this powerhouse. He's done it all, seen it all. He can crack a joke after seeing the most horrific things, because it's like water off of a duck's back, basically. He's just so used to it that it doesn't even faze him anymore. I mean, he's almost dying from Raccoon City syndrome, and it just doesn't bother him. He just goes through guns blazing. Whereas Grace, you feel so much more comfortable being quiet and hiding and sneaking around than you do actually facing any of the enemies, which is part of the reason why I took Capcom's advice and played through the game with Grace in first person and Leon in third, because you're supposed to get that Resident Evil 7 vibe with Grace, and you're supposed to get that Resident Evil 4 vibe with Leon. And for all of you out there, I don't know who y'all are, but the ones who said Resident Evil 7 was too scary and then we ended up with Resident Evil 8, y'all are insane, because I've never been more afraid in my life than playing Resident Evil 7, and I loved every single minute of it. I loved the tension. I loved having to pause so that my heart would stop racing. That is what Resident Evil is supposed to be. But at the same time, once you've already gotten Resident Evil 4 and the way that it changed the entire gaming industry, you kind of have to have a mix of the best of both worlds. So this was the perfect combination. I will say that I did really like how they didn't use the same police dogs as zombie dogs. They switched over to Garmers this time. They looked much more like they would have been wild dogs who just got infected by the T virus at some point after the missile strike. I thought that was a really nice touch for the environment, and it makes a lot more sense to have it go that way. I really enjoyed that they brought back the liquors, and that we got different types of zombies in the arc, because none of them are clothed. So you don't know, are these all test subjects, or did some of these just so happen to be researchers? We really don't know because they're not wearing clothes. So I thought that was a really nice touch for the environmentals and the enemies. I'm going to give one small critique here. Why on earth would Victor just leave Grace to fend for herself if he thinks that she's this key, and they need her to travel all these miles across this city that is completely decimated to put in a code that no one knows but her? Why would they just leave her in a zombie infested care center? Like, they must have thought that she was already infected with T virus. That's the only thing that I can think of, that they were fairly certain that she had already been infected by the T virus, so none of the stuff was going to affect her. Now, that brings me to my theories. In the very beginning, the first time that she encounters an enemy is in the Renwood Hotel, when the police officer turns and bites her in the arm, and they want to make sure that we see that. Capcom wants us to know that she was absolutely bitten, and nothing happens to her. She doesn't get sick. She doesn't, like, nothing changes. There's this story that Spencer tells Alyssa when he introduces her to Grace, and Grace is a baby, that she's just a perfectly normal child. She's not a test subject. She's just a child who needed a home. I think that's complete bullshit. It doesn't make sense. Number one, because they want us to see Grace get bitten. I think that she was inoculated with Elpis as a baby. I think that Spencer knew, even if he really was reformed, okay, let's just take him at his word. He was reformed. He wanted to do better. He knew that if any of these people in Umbrella, Tricell, the Connections, any of these people, if they found out that he had this child and saved it, that child would be a target. So I think he inoculated her with Elpis as a baby, and just claimed that she was perfectly normal. And I think the bite proves that. Also, none of the orphanage stuff makes sense, because the orphanage playthrough where we play as Chloe happens in 1990, and the Raccoon City incident happens in 1998. And if I remember correctly, Spencer dies in 2005. And it's clear that when Alyssa goes to interview Spencer, it's after the Raccoon City incident, and he gives her a baby. This did not happen in the 90s. This is after, because he's talking about all the different things that he regrets. So it's after that. There's no way that they made clones of Grace when Grace wasn't born yet. I think Grace is a clone. I think she's a clone that he saved, he inoculated, and he gave to Alyssa to raise as a normal child. Also, I think that Victor clearly states there's no connection between Grace and Emily. I think that's bullshit too. I think they're all clones. I don't know who the original is, but I don't think it's Grace, because the timeline doesn't add up for me. Also, he calls Zeno an imitation. And I think that that is very important, because if you know anything about Resident Evil lore, then you know that there was a Wesker cloning program, and that's also reaffirmed in Grace's report. So if you haven't went and read it already, once you beat the game once, you can go into the extra bonus settings and you can read Grace's report, and it gives a lot of information, a lot of really useful information. So
I'm actually teaching her how to read.
Her report confirms that there was a Wesker project and that the connections were involved in pretty much everything, in taking down Spencer, in absorbing everything that Umbrella had, which is why we can go into the Ark at this point and we can see files that show the prices of bioweapons, because the connections took all of that over once Umbrella went under. And we're continuing to sell these bioweapons. I don't know how people got in there, because look how hard it was for Leon to get in there. But they figured out a way, apparently. So that leads us into this scene here. These guys walking through are elite guards from the connections, and they're there to retrieve the objective, which I believe is Zeno's head. It's the only thing I can think of. Victor snapped off his head, and it's just there, and I think they want to perform some tests on this head. Before I continue, at the end of this, we get the Remarkable Agent trophy for beating the game in insanity mode. And finally, we get the Requiem Platinum trophy for earning every trophy in the game. I did beat this in 7 hours, 37 minutes on the dot, which I think is pretty good, because this was really difficult. So, continuing on. I don't know if they're collecting this head so that they can analyze exactly what Elpis did inside of the body, or if they're wanting to continue the Wesker cloning program. But either way, I'm fairly certain that that's what they're there to collect. I do just want to say that I love the fact that we did get to see how much these bioweapons cost, because I've always been curious how much a Tyrant would cost. I liked that we got little bits of information. We got the Avernico bottle, which is an anagram for Veronica, and I'm really hoping that's the next remake, because God knows we need a Code Veronica remake. Personally, that was my second favorite game of all the old ones. Resident Evil 2 was always my favorite, and Code Veronica was a close second. So I think that would be so awesome. Overall, I absolutely loved this game. I give it an A. If it's out of 100, I would give it probably a 97. I think this is exactly what we needed for Resident Evil, and I really can't wait to see what they come up with next. I just hope we get a couple more answers. And I hope that you guys all enjoyed this guide as much as I enjoyed making it. And I hope you keep having fun with it on later playthroughs. So, if you'd all please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. And join me back here when I do my next playthrough. Until then, Khajiit always has swears.